I was at the BRICS meeting in Kazan. Half the world's population, 36% of the world's GDP, 20,000 delegates from all of those nations, 46 nations. I was rung up by a young woman from the ABC saying that can I do an interview? Now, as I was the only one of two Australians at the meeting having 20,000 delegates and 2,000 journalists, I said, okay, I've got 2 hours free tomorrow morning in Kazan. I'll text you. Anyway, I texted her and she replied, well, I can't meet you because I'm not in Russia. I'm overseas. Can you believe that? An Australian ABC journalist, not even at the most important meeting, which is the crux, the fulcrum, the change of world politics, world economy, with China, Russia, India, the world's most important emerging and vigorous economies. I'd like also to say that since 2014, on a PPP basis, China has been the world's largest economy. The fourth largest economy now is Russia. Let those things sink in. Also, I'd like to leave that, settle in, and address something that's not so positive, is the 200-odd thousand people who have been killed in Gaza deliberately, 70% of them women and children. Women and children. 70% of 200,000. Now you might think I'm making that figure up. That was published by The Lancet, the medical journal, quite reputable, at 170,000. Ralph Nader gives us the figure of 200,000. Ambassador Chas Freeman says it must be at least 20% of the entire population. That's around 400,000, 25%. What to do about such mass slaughter? Children at 5 and 6 years of age having heart attacks. Children at 5 to 8 bald. Their hair falls out through ceaseless anxiety. Children who bring their sister to the hospital in a backpack, in pieces. 40,000 children dead. 17,000 amputations. That's the sort of cynical, murderous impulses that have been let forth to dominate the Middle East. What has happened to the West, which we saw as a liberal, democratic, mixed market that sufficed human needs first? Human needs first. What happened to it? Where is it gone? It can't face a little bit of competition from China, Russia, India, South Africa, Brazil, 13 other nations who are partners with them, 42 other nations who have applied for partnership, a little bit of competition, and the West deserts every single one of its traditional postures, democracy, competition, and collapses into cynical, murderous impulse. Moldova, a fake election. France, the government collapses. The president of France says, I don't care, I'm staying on. Germany, the government collapses. Italy, their government on the verge of collapse. Starmer continues to export weapons and give moral and political support to those who are carrying out the genocide in Gaza. I don't mention their names. I can't bring myself, you know, if I was going to mention that name, it would be only as a demon to frighten the children so they wouldn't go out of doors at night. I never mention their names. I will mention a couple of names though. John Pilger, an Australian, 60 documentaries, 22 books, hundreds of essays. His last two, Palestine is Still the Question and the Coming War with China. A magnificent human being that in song will be remembered long past the efforts of the present Prime Minister or the leader of the opposition. I don't mention their names. Why would I? What we focus on is the constant unfolding of policies, one, to deceive us, to never tell us the truth. And that's why we have the phenomenon of a group of mothers and their friends, men, having truth, not war, in order to bring to our notice the awful deceits that were carried out by the government. How newspapers now fulfill the wishes of the government in announcing or deceiving us and not announcing policy changes. How they want to forbid us from having conversations with each other over the facilities of the internet. Ordinary conversation. Did you see that written? Oh, I read it, yes. What do you think? Oh, I think it's pretty awful. You know, maybe we can have a chat about it and get around the dinner table and become witness. And as a consequence of becoming witness, knowledgeable and healthy people, once they have inculcated knowledge, act, and act in the interest principally of their families and secondarily of their communities, and not be diverted into woke this or woke that, or multicultural this or multicultural that. All of us realise that an empire makes every single effort, every day, all the time, to disguise and ruin, disguise its intentions and ruin our sovereignty and reduce the capacity of the institutions of state that we have built over many years to act in our interests. They become impotent, and all they can hear is their master's voice from overseas. That's the feature of every empire that's ever been. They don't want competition, they want obedience. Last one. AUKUS. $368 billion. Let me tell you, it's for 8 Virginia-class submarines. They're good submarines, as that sort of thing goes. They carry Tomahawk cruise missiles. They're obsolete, by the way. Opposed to Russia, who have decided for us is our enemy. You can have this enemy today. Well, thanks. I choose my own friends. I quite like Russia. I like Russians. They're good fun. They drink very, very fine liquor. Russia produces a Yazim-class nuclear submarine, 8 of them for $9 billion. They're equipped with hypersonic missiles called Zircon and Kinzhal. The meaning of that compared to what Australia's doing, is that we've already lost. So the strategists who instruct the Prime Minister and Cabinet, the Foreign Affairs, must know that. I stand in front of you, I only just got to read each morning for an hour, and I become aware of that. They must know. So what is the purpose of the $368 billion? What is its purpose? Oi. What is the purpose of this money? Well, it's tribute. It's what we pay the United States. I don't know why our government can't simply say that to us, that we have to pay tribute in the circumstances we find ourselves in. Why can't they just say, look, guys, we're in this particular circumstance, the strategies are these, we have to pay these people to look after us under the current circumstances. Another thing I'd like to point out, that per head of population, Australia is one of the richest nations in the world. Rich. We teem with wealth. It tumbles forth. We are embraced by the Indian Ocean, the Great Southern Ocean, the Tasman Sea, the Pacific Ocean, the Coral Sea, the Barrier Reef, Torres Strait, teeming with wealth. They're our responsibilities as well as our gifts. They're the natural endowment of Australia. We are an island. We don't have the problem of frontiers with potential enemies or unreliable friends. That's us. This is a tremendous gift and a great endowment for us to care for. It's a responsibility and a joy. And the only way that that responsibility can be covered, the only way is through the development of sovereignty. You understand that? So to return, as we always do in the cycle of life, to return to our beginning again, I thank you for the act of sovereignty that you all displayed in the case of Julian Assange, and I look forward with anticipation in my declining years to see you all act that way all the while. Thank you.